First take. Come on, let's go. Alright. Anyways. As you guys know, I'm primarily a Dead by Daylight channel, and to be honest, I love the game. I look forward to every update release. It's exciting. To wrap up this year, I wanted to make a different video than usual, and that's by analyzing how the updates of this year performed. In short term, it's alright. It's but that's not why I wrote this entire script for the first time. Nah. Instead, I wanted to do a deep dive into Dead by Daylight in 2024. I'll figure that out whenever I post it. As for now, I'll handle the side patches. I'll make like little comments on them whenever we come across them, or if I feel them to be significant enough to introduce in the video. But most side patches are just killer tweaks or changes that I will probably address later on. Anyways, let's get started. So update 7.5.0. This is the first one that we got of the year, 2024. And we kicked off this patch with, my opinion, pretty solid update. Survivors got a massive gen buff. As a reminder, this was during the time that Skull Merchant was roaming around with her painfully strong 3-gen meta. The meta was terrible, and I'm so glad that we started this year by addressing it. This patch introduced a mechanic where gens could only be kicked 8 times before they were blocked for killers. We also got changes to Onryo and Billy in this patch. The Billy changes made him phenomenal. He was like S tier plus killer, I'm pretty sure at the time. And I didn't really mind because he's been shafted for like half the game's lifespan, so made sense. As for Onryo, her rework made her much more fun to play against and play as. Because I remember before it was just mostly just a slugging game when it came with her. And when this patch got introduced, it was definitely a better gameplay loop to go against her, I'd like to say. Moving on to 7.6.0. Personally, this was my favorite update of the game. Like, I know I'm going to say that a lot throughout this video, but this update introduced the Unknown and Sable Ward into the game. The teasers for this update as well, amazing. Though it is sad that the person behind them got fired, because they were cooking. Like, those teasers were probably the best I've ever seen in the game. But there are downsides to this update. The killer itself had a lot of hype behind it. I'd say that the launch was a little bit underwhelming in a sense that a lot of people were expecting something else from the killer. Personally, I like the design of the Unknown. I like playing as him, but on release, he was really bad. Like, not in the sense that he was buggy, but like his power was very underwhelming, very lackluster, and that type of deal. Not to mention that the perks for both sides were hit or miss. We did get a brand new introduction into the game, and that's Invocations, but knowing how much you had to sacrifice in order to use it, and back then it used to be like 2 minutes, I think, of just sitting in a basement hoping not to be found by the killer, and just that's it. Like, I think at launch it was only 5% per each gen. Now it's a mini brand new part for each gen around the map. And it's very useful now, but at the time of its release, the idea and the premise was cool, but the execution of the update was terrible, in my opinion. But as for the Unknown perks, I've only used one, and that's Unbound. And I find that perk to be kind of solid in a sense. We got other ones in there that were for meme funny vault builds, which are fun. I like those perks tremendously more than meta changing ones. We'll get to those later on in the video, but I find those to be a whole lot more enjoyable to play with and against, but I can also see why people would want meta every new update, because that's what they're paying for. Luckily enough, this was an original chapter. You can get this for free if you grinded, and I did. And this update, I love playing as the killer. That's all I'm gonna say. The aesthetic, the everything, solid. All right, 7.70. Dude, I wrote this one down. I think I remember when I was writing this script down. How I was going to explain this update. It's very short. It's a very short. Sorry, I got a phone call midway recording this. Guess not all in one take. God dang it. But as I was saying, with this update, it was a very short write for me, in the sense of this update was terrible. It was fucking bad. Like, I remember the PTB, not only seeing gameplay, but when I talked with one of my friends that played the PTB, he was like, bro, I'm gonna drop this game if this update comes out live. I'm like, why? Because it's like so unfun to play against the twins in this update. And after me seeing countless videos and just understanding where he came from, I was like, bro, I might have to drop this game too. And ultimately, this update just felt like it was a waste of time. They went back on like literally every single change that they made in the PTB. They even made like a stupid, what was it, like a grabbing animation? No, it was a decisive strike animation that they completely cut. 'Cause it just looked bad. It was all bad. And it was just like a point in the game where it's like, what are they doing? How did this take them that many years to implement into the game? And it wasn't even good. Like, all of it was just terrible. And in the end, they just reverted everything like I mentioned, but they reverted it in a sense where it didn't matter. All they did was a few number changes, and then that's it. And I felt very disappointed for the Twins mains. I'm not one of them, but I can imagine myself in that sense of waiting so long for something and then, oh, great, this is it. This is all we get. So this update was oof. 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. Anyways, let's go on to something better. And that was the next patch. Or the next big patch. And that was 8.0.0. This was the D&D update. And to me, it was a solid update content-wise. We got Vecna, which was considered underpowered at first, but after people learned his mechanics and a few buffs later, he's a pretty solid killer. I don't know what kind of rank he scales on the tier list, but he's pretty good for what he does. And this also introduced some Survivor, once again, a brand new perk with brand new gameplay, and they were cooking. They were just cooking. I'd get back to the killer in a bit. With the Survivor, it was a unique perk which literally brought a loot with this perk. I don't know what it's called. I wish I did more research on it. I'm sorry. I didn't write it down when I was writing this. I didn't think of it. But just the funny haha of having that just be a new animation in the game, and it's pretty useful if you roll a good dice with the good build that you got on. So if you got hyper focus, corrective action, well, not anymore. We'll talk about that later. That perk, and then a few other gen rushing perks can be a very solid build whenever it comes to using this quote-unquote meme perk, which I still find it really funny, and I like this perk. Now, as for the killer side, it was just awesome, like having a killer power which you can counter in a sense that it isn't just skill level, but also kind of in a sense of luck. Of course, it's D&D related, but I found it very unique in a sense that you can try to open up a chest and get lucky with some of the new abilities that you got on you. Yeah, some of them are just shit, but it's interesting in the point that they tried something and it worked in a sense. I guess now it wouldn't work as much because most people just ignore the chests that Vecna brings into the map. Like, maybe we can use some tweaks to maybe buff the numbers a bit to make it better or intriguing for you to search for the chest instead of doing a generator. But at the time, it was a very solid update. Patch 1.0. Oh boy. Besides the whole Twins update, this is one of my least favorite mid-chapter updates. That's because me personally, I'm not a huge Lara Croft fan. I grew up more with Uncharted, and more so, I only played one Uncharted game, so I wasn't a big fan of these games to begin with. And as well as, I don't really see this character as a horror-themed aspect to it. I might be wrong. I might not know. I don't know because I don't play the games, but from what I saw and from what I understood, excuse me, sorry. Oh, sorry. From what I understood, it it's not really much of a horror experience. It's more storytelling, action pack, dungeon crawler type of thing. Well, not dungeon crawler, but you're someone looking for unique items, from what I understand. Not to mention that this DLC, I know this is going to sound really stupid, but this one sounded like this was massively cash grabbed. Like, in a sense that's, you get the eyes on the people that know the characters. Like, oh, I know Lara Croft. She's in this game. Might have the cop. Or you get people like me who know nothing about this character and just look at the perks. And to be fair, 2 out of the 3 perks are just fucking dog shit. No way to put about it, because one of them was a counter to Ultimate Weapon, which got gutted. So that was already why would you make a counter to that? Second of all, the only good perk just felt like it was a grab incentive. They could have easily put this in the original chapter character, but they decided to put it into a pay only character, and that's what kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I was like, yeah, I could wait for the Shrine of Secrets, or I can pay. I didn't pay, but that's the thought process that most people would have when they consider buying this chapter. So that shit's scummy. It's very scummy. But besides her, the Knight rework, it made him much more enjoyable to play, removing his gimmickly slugging playstyle. On the other hand, the Chucky rework was made even more annoying to play against. Well, in a sense that they removed Scamper, but I just don't like. I don't like Chucky. I just don't like him. I don't like him. Why? He's a fucking doll. He's a great horror icon, but I can kick the fucking doll. It's not something that I'm scared of. Ugh. Tangent aside, this update, ranking from the worst, I mean, it's second on the list. Fuck man, this update was not that great. In my opinion. Some people liked it because of the whole content drop, but I didn't. 8.2.0. I wish I had more time to play this update since I was busy with college when this came out, but it was a highlight of the year. While I'm not a huge Castlevania fan, I recognize it as a gaming icon as well as a type of horror icon. At first, I wasn't thrilled with the update. I kept dying to Dracula against him in chases, but over time, I started looking forward chases with him because I adapted, like dodging his flame or his doggo attack. It was satisfying, and his bat form doesn't really bother me because I play Ash. I'm literally begging to get chased out of hook because I'm so fucking loud. But beyond the killer, we got plenty of buffs for killers and survivor perks, which I personally like. My favorite was the Nemesis buff, because I'm a Nemi boy, my Nemesis. Made him, oh my god, so much more to play. I don't have to have the fucking stress of oh, I need to get these few hits in with my tentacle so I can have a power going on after the first 2 gens are done. But with this brand new update, I can hit survivors twice on the first chase. Got my power already to break pallets, and it feels very satisfying in a sense that I have to work less for something that should have just been base kit to begin with. But regardless, we also got the doctor changes in this patch, which is pretty good. Overall, solid buff. No complaints from Doctor, and he hasn't gotten changed since, so he's in a pretty good spot because of it. Next patch, 8.3.0, was a big win for the most part because it felt like not an Operation Health, but in a sense that it brought in a lot of updates that were needed in a sense while we wait for the next big chapter. And that was mostly just a bunch of changes throughout all of this. One of the big ones was Skull Merchant. They completely gutted her, and I'm fine with that. And to clarify that a bit, I'm fine with that in the sense that I'd much rather have a very bad killer than having someone that's dull, boring to play against, boring to play as type of gameplay in the game. Yeah, we got our nurses, but with Skull Merchant, it's like she had the ability to drag out the game for much longer than need be, and I'm just glad that they gutted her for the time being until they figure out a good solution to fix her. But as it stands now, I never liked the killer, but I'm glad that I won't be seeing her in my matches anytime soon, and if I will, it's not as bad. Like, it's just a lingering PTSD of having to face against her for the most part. But I think that's a really solid update with her, as well as the 2 buffs for the Unknown and the Twins. They got some pretty decent changes. They reverted back on nerfing the Unknown, which is good. So we just got a few buffs on both ends. And as for some of the perks that got changed, I just wanted to include them as honorable mentions because there's a huge list about them. But I just want to include the ones that I think had an actual impact in the meta. Blood Rush, most people don't use it, but it's a really good anti-tunnel perk at the point in time. Quick Gambit, literally could have gone without like 0 games without seeing it from killer side or survivor side. Corrective Action. Luckily, this one got changed to the point where it isn't as much of a hassle as it would have been. And Distortion. My personal belief that Distortion is kind of an unhealthy perk for the game because it kind of makes it it makes it very boring to play against. Very, very boring. Wow, okay, some of my stuff got deleted from this script. I was going to add a bit more for the killer changes, but the overall gist of the killer perk changes were that a good portion of them were just useless perks that got reworked to the point that they're usable, and they're not gimmicky. One of the big ones was Predator. I remember that perk just literally being the most useless thing ever for killer side. But now that after the change got out, it's really good, really solid perk, I'd like to say. So I look forward to this update whenever it came out. I mean, I did, and I still like it. Pretty solid update. Which leads us to now. I don't know how to say it properly besides this is such a bad way to end the year for this game, because this killer is just bad. Like, I didn't write it in the script, but as of recording this audio, the killer has been kill switched, and knowing they will go on holiday next week, that killer's not probably going to get changed till next year. So fuck the people that bought it, right? Besides that, the whole killer itself is just buggy. The animations are bad. The AI is bad. The whole gimmick of the dog was bad at first. They buffed it, but it was bad on release. The only good things that I'd say that came out of it was the perks, since they're very meta changing in a sense that on killer side we got a perk which can make scourge hooks out of the blue, which is good. After an unhook, a scourge hook will appear from that same hook. So if you get indoor maps and you're a slow killer, you're not really in the dump truck when it comes to that sense of ordeal. And that's for survivor side. We got shoulder to burden. Everyone knows what the fuck that perk does. I don't need to explain it. It's a meta changing perk, and I'm iffy on it. I've seen it in my games. I just haven't seen it being executed well ever since, because I feel like right now killers are definitely in fear of that perk, so they're spreading their hook stages, and maybe I feel like I've gotten lucky in a sense where whenever I do have to tunnel someone, I got the person that has the perk. So in that aspect, the perk is doing wonders. Even without it being equipped, it just spreads hooks naturally, which is good. I like that for both sides. And that's pretty much it. Like, we got Chucky changes. I feel like it's not enough. It's not enough to address his fundamental flaws in his gameplay. Yes, he's cool and unique that he's the first killer to have third person, but being cool and unique can only take you so far, in a sense that you're a terrible experience to play on the other side. And that's saying me. I'm a killer maid. I own him. And I don't like playing as him just because I know the frustrating feeling of playing against him. Besides that, I'd say this year's pretty mixed. It's a mixed bag. We got the goods, we got the bads. I'd say that the bads kind of outweigh the negatives in this aspect, because this is money for people. Like, I'm an ordinary guy. I don't want to spend my money on content that doesn't work. I can go play another game. Call of Duty released. I bought it. I like it. I'll go back to playing that game. But for people that are religiously playing this game, I feel like it's a solid year of Dead by Daylight. But for the common consumer, something needs to change. Like, they can't keep releasing half-baked content and then expecting people to not get mad whenever they change it so drastically to the point where it's no longer the same thing that they bought. Skull Merchant, Chucky are two very good examples of that aspect. And then the monetization is getting kind of scummy to where the good question should be asked, like, what the fuck are we doing? Just want normal content. But who knows? Maybe next year it looks better. I still like the game. I still like to play it. But there's just a lot of grapes right now that I've been swaying myself towards other games to play. Even on my free time, I find myself playing something else just because the community itself is very childish, in a sense where I play how I want to play now. I don't play how I think is right, because every side is wrong. So, I don't know. I'm just playing video games. I feel like people shouldn't get too worked up about it. Besides that, that's the end of the video. If you guys watched this far, thank you so much. Hope you guys liked and subscribed. I'm sorry for any stutters or delays in this type of shit. This is my first time ever doing this for a script, so I hope you guys enjoyed. It's me, it's the lazy pub, because we're a group of people on this channel. Literally me and my brother. Why did I say group of people? This has been a Lazy Pub Productions, yeah! And I hope you guys enjoyed. Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever the fuck you celebrate it. Spend time with your family. This is my final video of the year, and hopefully my brother has something planned for the start of next year. It's your boy, and I'm out.